And welcome back to Unapologetically Black Unicorns. So this summer I took a little bit of a break and I've been sharing some stories with you to make sure that we have fresh content, as well as, there are things that are happening in my life that I think happen, of course, in other people's lives that they may resonate with. And so I thought I'd share some stories that maybe speak to things that other people are going through too. So recently, I've had some things come from our family home in Philadelphia to my house in California. Now, I knew this was eventually going to happen as, my mother passed away many, many years ago. My father is older. You've heard my father on the podcast. And by the way, my father just had a very significant birthday. And I am allowed to share he had his 90th birthday. And so I thought, I often share about my dad. He means so much to me. And this is something that is about the family, something that came from generations of the family and now has arrived in my house in California. And I took a look at it and I remembered this story. So I'm going to share this story with you. And then we'll come back at the end and chat a little bit. This is about the family royal. My goodness, Dad, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. What the heck are you doing? And guess what? It really was 3 o'clock in the morning. It was a late December evening that had turned into morning, the day of my parents' famous holiday party. Preparations were underway, which included, on this morning, the percussive rhythmic noise of the old family royal typewriter. My father replied when I asked him what he was up to. He replied simply, "It's Moida Shiva." The grin on his face was reminiscent of a mischievous young boy caught with his hands in the cookie jar. The look on my face was one of utter confusion. What is Moida Shiva? As the military nomadic Myrick clan, we knew several languages from our travels abroad, our diverse circle of friends, and our various educational experiences, but this, it didn't seem familiar at all. I looked over at my mom, and she too looked just as perplexed. Moida Shiva? What? My father continued to repeat the word, and each time the pronunciation was punctuated with frustration and glee. Moida Shiva. Moida Shiva. At this point, I think my dad was laughing, and we were giggling along. At 3 o'clock on a Sunday morning, 12 hours into cleaning and preparing a house for a grand holiday party, let's just say he could have said the word dust, and we all would be in tears with laughter. But there we were giggling about some strange word. Secretly, I thought my father was holding on to some language that he knew and maybe wasn't sharing that he knew Yiddish because it sounded sort of like Yiddish. Who knew? Well, he doesn't know Yiddish and he wasn't speaking Yiddish or anything else for that matter. I finally stopped giggling long enough to ask him, what exactly is Moida Shiva? His reply, the show, the one on TV, with the female writer that opens with words on a piece of paper inserted into a typewriter. Clearly he gets it that we have no clue as to what he's talking about, because his response is met with blank stares from my mother and me. He points to the paper coming out of the typewriter, and he says it again, now articulating every letter and every syllable slowly. Moida Shiva. My mom and I follow his pointing finger, looking at the paper in the typewriter that read, murder. Simultaneously, we both shriek, "Oh, murder, she wrote." My father swore that he was saying that all along, but alas, no. My dad heard himself say, "Murder, she wrote," but what came out of his mouth had succumbed to the effects of no sleep, 3 a.m. communications effect. Moira Shiva. But not to worry, we now have a new holiday greeting to include on our cards to our friends. Moira Shiva. And we add y'all at the end. Well, I know because it's from the Myrick, so it's Moira Shiva, y'all. And no one knows what it means. Our friends don't know what it means. Maybe they think we speak Yiddish. So I just wanted to let you know that that royal typewriter was used by my aunt, then by my mom, then my cousin, then my brother to write papers in college or high school. From my aunt and my mother, college was something many women of color did not have access to due to racism, but both used that typewriter in college, graduating with several degrees. They paved the way for all of us that followed, using that typewriter in one way or another to complete our college degrees as well. When I miss them, or when life is hard and I'm struggling to push through the pain, sorrow, frustrations, anger, or sheer sadness, I can access their spirit and strength through these memories and through that typewriter. The Royal Typewriter sits atop a small writing desk in my father's library, just as it has these many years after the preparation for the family annual holiday party. Though long faded, the paper with the one word murder still remains steadfastly waiting for the next word to be typed, the next story to be told, the next memory to be stored. Moira Shiva, y'all. Well, that typewriter now is with me. And my father told me another story about that typewriter. Is he used that typewriter as well. But one of the things that he did not learn in school, in primary school, was how to write in cursive. And I happened to read a piece of paper and I asked my dad, did mom write that or did you write that? Because it was hard to tell the difference between their handwriting. And my dad told me he used to type everything on that typewriter and he had to ask my mother to help him learn how to write in cursive. And that's why his cursive looks as beautiful as her cursive. I am so happy I have these stories of my family. I'm fortunate to have them. I'm fortunate to have the quote unquote things that hold these memories. And I hope that, when times are tough for people, they can find that thing, that story, that memory that brings that heartfelt joy in their heart, in their being, in their soul to help them through or to help you through that time when it's tough. That's what I do. And when that typewriter came to my house, it was sitting on the top box. When I opened the box and saw it, I'm still waiting to figure out where it will sit so that I can continue to have these wonderful memories. And yes, the piece of paper with murder is still in it, super faded, but it's still there. All right. Thanks for joining me in story time today. Really, really appreciate your continued, listening in to the podcast. As Garrett says, the producer, make sure to like, comment, and share. What kind of stories do you have? What thing, like what object or what thing do you remember that helps you get through, that you hold on to? I certainly would love to know. Until next time, we'll see you again on Unapologetically Black Unicorns.